Welcome to the 26th installment of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wils. With me today for the first half of our talk story, she's a sophomore diver on the women's swim and dive team, Daphne Wils. Daphne, welcome to Talk Story.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Now, on the UH website, it has a different hometown, but as you're telling me before we started recording, your hometown is Udvater in the Netherlands.
Yes.
For those that haven't been to your hometown or haven't been to the Netherlands, can you describe for us your hometown? Describe for us your country.
The Netherlands is a really small country in Europe. You can drive through the whole country in like 3 hours. And I'm from a really small village in the middle of the country. It's basically surrounded by fields and old buildings, but it's a really great place to live. And yeah, I really like it.
What, besides diving, what other sports did you grow up competing in?
When I was younger, I started playing tennis and hockey because those are the two most popular sports in Holland, and those were available like in the town I grew up in. So yeah, I did that for a little while when I was, I think, 6 until I was like 10 years old.
Who got you into the sport of diving, and when did you first start knowing that you wanted to get into diving?
I think I've always been like athletic and I loved sports, but I was more into like doing flips on a trampoline or doing like cool tricks. And one day I came home from school and I saw diving on TV. And I had never seen it before, but I told my mom that I wanted to do that. And I was like, I'm going to win like a lot of medals. You have to take me to this sport. And so she did. And I loved it from the first practice. So I stayed into it. And now 15 years later, I'm here in Hawaii, still diving.
How did growing up, being on the trampoline and doing all those flips, how did that help you transition to become a really good diver?
I don't know. I just always loved what I did. And I guess that just worked because I loved going to every single practice and I had a lot of fun doing all of these things. And I wasn't scared either. So I would try everything my coaches say. And I think that really helped me to develop in becoming a good diver. Yeah.
You're a 15-time Dutch junior national champion in both the 1 meter, the 3 meter, and the platform. Of these three, is any one easier? Is any of them harder?
I would say they're all very different. Most people would think 1 meter is the easiest event, but they're all very different, and it really depends on who you're competing against. Personally, I think I'm best in 3 meters, so that's for me the easiest to do, but it's also scary because it's higher up. So it's hard to say. I think 1 meter is the easiest for your dives, but then competing it is maybe a little harder even than 3 meter.
I have to ask because I only see this maybe once every 4 years watching the Olympics, but it seems nerve-wracking to me to go all the way up the ladder to the top of the platform and then stare down and you see the pool so far away. Is it nerve-wracking as you go up the ladder?
It really is. That's also the biggest reason why I don't dive platform at all, because I tried it when I was younger and I realized that was way too high for me. So I decided to specialize on just the boards, and that 3 meter is high enough for me.
When did you know that you wanted to compete in college, and what led you to pick to dive here at Hawaii?
I think I got recruited by someone from the US for the first time in 2017 on the World Championships. And that's when I started looking into going to the US, and I realized what a great opportunity it was. However, it took me a couple of years before I actually got into the US because I was still going to school and I had to think about it if I really wanted to leave. I emailed Hawaii in the summer of 2019 because I've heard about their program and Hawaii is obviously a great place to live. So I emailed Mike, my coach, and I asked him if he was interested in me having me on the program, and we got along very well, and we figured it out, and I moved here 6 months later, and it's been the best decision I've made so far in my life, I would say.
Now, being so far from home, who's the better cook, mom or dad?
Definitely my mom. She is a chef.
All right, professional chefs. So you can say basically everything that she makes you miss, but what is maybe the one or two dishes that she makes that you really miss?
Right before I left, we actually started making our own like noodles and dumplings, and those I miss the most because they were they turned out very well, and it's very great food.
There's a lot of pride to compete for the state of Hawaii, whatever sport you're in, but also to be a Dutch national, to be on the national team for a few years. What kind of pride is there when you put on that Dutch jersey?
I would say it's just great to present like your country in front of so many other countries, and we're such a small country, and it's just great to like be out there and show what we're capable of. And I don't know, it just makes me proud to like show the world that we exist and that we're good at like diving as well, I guess. Yeah.
Your freshman season in 2020 was quite good. Conference Female Diver of the Year. You were an All-American. As you look back on it, yes, the season was canceled due to COVID. Were you happy with how your freshman season went in 2020?
Yes, I was definitely very happy and surprised of how it went. I got in with zero expectations because I've never been in college before, and I entered my first conference. And winning both events definitely gave me a lot of confidence. I was disappointed when NCs got canceled because I felt like I was in a great shape when I flew there. But looking back at it, I feel like it was a great like first start of my freshman year. And even though NCs got canceled, I still got a lot out of it, and I competed for UH, which was a great experience and opportunity as well.
How tough was it when the pandemic, I mean, the pandemic is still going on, but how tough was it when you found out the season was canceled, you couldn't compete in the NC2As? How did you stay mentally focused? How did you stay in diving shape during that time?
At first, it was really hard because obviously no one really knew what was going on, and everyone suddenly shut down. So I was trying to figure out if it was best to stay in Hawaii or to go back home to the Netherlands. And I ended up deciding going back to the Netherlands. And when I got there, we were in lockdown for about 2 months until they made an exception for the national squad swimming and diving to start training again. So I got in early in May, and having those 2 months off of diving made me realize how grateful we should be to like be diving, competing in the first place. So when I got back into the water in May, I just gave it all, and I was very motivated and happy to be back in the water and to be diving again.
To win the MPSF, the swim and dive team for UH, they win it for a 5th straight year here in 2021. To be a part of, I guess you could call it a dynasty. What does that mean to you?
It just shows that the Wahine team, like UH in general, but for now the Wahine team is just a great group of hardworking girls, and it's just great to be part of it. And winning it again, like especially after such a rough year, is something I'm really proud of, and I'm very happy to be part of that team.
To compete also at the NCAAs in the zone championships, you make it to the NC2As again, you qualified for a 2nd straight year, but competing at the NC2As for the first time this season, nervous, excited, just happy to be in the water?
I was very nervous going into NCs. I knew I was going to get a very rough meet, especially because a lot of really good divers returned that weren't there last year because of a red shirt. I tried to approach it in the easiest way possible. I was just like, I'm going to have fun. I'm happy this event is happening in the first place. I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but I realized once I was in the meet, there was pressure, and I tried to make the most of it, and I really enjoyed every second of it. It was still a very stressful experience.
You say stressful experience, but to have one of your teammates, Elma Lund, be there with you, how much fun did you have at the NCs with Elma there with you?
I had a really great time. I was really happy I was there together with Elma. She got in as a freshman in the summer, and we didn't get to spend a lot of time together because she was back in Norway over the fall semester, and I was back in Holland. We really got to know each other well, and she's a great diver, a great person. She really lifted me up when I needed it, and I hope I did the same for her. So it was very good to have her with me on NCs, and we had a great time together.
Take us through sort of your mental preparation from when you go from the pool deck up the ladder onto the springboard, and then those moments before you start your dive into the water.
I listen to music, and this meet was a very long meet because there were 50 other divers, so there is about 40 minutes in between each dive. So I just like listening to music, play a game that I don't really have to think about anything. I walk to the pool deck, I talk to my coach, he gives me my last advice for my dive, and then 4 divers before my dive, I wait in line, I prepare myself, my body, and do the movements on the dry land, and then I just focus and go.
When mom and dad listen to this, if you have something to tell them, you want to thank them or just tell them anything, what would you like to tell them? And do so both in English and then in Dutch.
Okay, I really love my parents. I really love their support. I really appreciate them being there for me since the start and supporting me all the way here. And I can't wait for them to come out to Hawaii once the pandemic is over. En ik hou heel veel van jullie en ik mis jullie echt superveel.
Last one for you, Daphne. What's the goal for next season for both you individually, but also for the team as a whole?
For the team as a whole, I hope that we all just feel like we're in a place where we will all improve our diving, and we are a great team. We're all very hardworking and motivated. So I hope everyone achieves their personal goals, and obviously that we win NPSF for both men and women again. And personally, I hope to improve my scores that I made this year on zones and NCs, and I want a final next year at NCs too.
Daphne, this has been so much fun. We really appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you so much, and congratulations on an outstanding sophomore season.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.
Thanks again, Daphne, and as we take our break right here, when we do come back, we'll be joined by Daphne's teammate, Elma Lund. For Daphne Wils, I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Welcome back to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm Tiff Wells. Now with me, she's also from the UH Women's Swim and Dive team, freshman diver Elma Lund. Elma, welcome to Talk Story.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, thanks for joining us. Now, the website says you're from Norway, specifically in Bærum. I hope I get that pronounced correctly. For those that haven't been to Norway, who haven't been to your hometown, what is it like? Can you describe it for us?
It's a small place, like 20 minutes outside of Oslo, the capital in Norway. It's not really a city, rather like a region or like a place. That's where I grew up and started my diving 13 years ago, I think.
Okay. Growing up in Norway, what sports did you grow up playing?
Um, Mostly I did soccer and diving, and I tried to combine it as long as possible until um, ninth grade, and then it wasn't possible anymore because diving took so much of my time, and also like when we started to compete like internationally and higher up.
Is there a coach, or what kind of influenced you getting into the sport of diving?
My dad used to be a diver. He was very good, and he didn't really want me at first to go into diving because he was like kind of tired of like being in the swimming pool like all day. And but then I really wanted to start, so I tried it, and then he became my coach. So he has been coaching me for like all of the years until I came here.
Now, when we look at diving, we see the 1 meter, we see the 3 meter, but we also see the platform. Of the three, which is the easiest to complete a dive in, and why, in your opinion?
Personally, I am a 10-meter diver, but here at UH, I do everything like 1, 3, and 10-meter. But in general, I think many people would say 1 meter is the easiest, like if you're not a diver, because then you don't need to be scared of the height. But some people think it is difficult, like with the springboard that goes up and down. Like I also think it's super difficult to like have the right timing and rhythm and like be patient for the board. So I think platform is easier, kind of, I guess.
And that was my next question, because I'm a little afraid of heights, and it seems nerve-wracking as you go up the ladder all the way to the top, and you're just standing on top of the platform. Can it be nerve-wracking as you get to the top, and then once you're at the top of the platform and you look down, it's such a far way to the pool?
Um, Yes, I think that many divers, like even though they compete higher up or they just started, they can be pretty terrified sometimes. Like it is scary because most people have like tried to do a like belly flop or like going over or short, or it can hurt. So of course you are scared sometimes, but then it's more about to like think about what you should do and what you should focus on rather than the height. So like when I stand on the 10-meter, I look down sometimes, but I don't really focus on what can go wrong and what can possibly hurt. It's more about doing the dive.
When did you know that you wanted to compete in college here in the US and be a collegiate diver?
I think like first I wanted to do like an exchange year 2 3 years ago in high school, but it didn't really work out. So I was like, okay, then I really want to go to college in the US and like take advantage of the program they can offer and everything. And also like it's such a cool experience, like the whole thing of being on a team and having all other people around you and also being able to study at the same time. And I also really want to do well in school, so I think it was such a good opportunity to be able to do both here in the US.
And did that help coming to Hawaii, having that team factor, having that close group of not just divers and swimmers, but of a whole team to be there to support you as you're so far away from home here in your freshman year?
Yes, it was a bit tough in the beginning, to be honest. I came here in August and everything was closed. We were in like full lockdown. We couldn't go to the beach, we couldn't practice or meet people. So it was a bit tough, but now after Christmas, when we have been able to train, I have really felt like having such a good team is a very great experience. And so it really helps. And to other people out there, I really recommend it. And compared to like just being a normal student, you get this like whole package of like traveling, competing. Also, you can do other stuff as normal students, like when you're off season. So I think you get everything, which is awesome.
Who's the better cook in the family, mom or dad?
Mom.
Is there a dish or two that you really enjoy her making when you do go back home?
Mm, Personally, I love food and like different sorts of food, so I just enjoy trying a lot of different stuff. We have like Norwegian tacos, which I think is very nice. So when I went back in October, that was the first thing I asked for the night I got home.
Now, when you're in a diving competition, do you prefer to be one of the first divers, or do you prefer to be towards the end of the grouping and kind of see what everybody else has done so you can kind of see what you need to do to beat their scores?
I think that I always try to do my best either way. So if I'm at the end and see other people, it can rather make me more stressed maybe. Um, so I think it's fine to be in the beginning as long as I'm not the first diver. Then it's like, oh, I'm starting the whole show, so it can be a bit stressful. But yeah, in the beginning it's fine, especially here because we just came from NCAAs and there are like more than 40 divers. So the whole competition takes so long to complete, like 3 hours. So if you're in the beginning, you're done earlier.
To be a part of a program, we're talking about the swim and dive team here at UH that has just won their fifth straight conference championship. To be a part of what many would call a dynasty, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot, and we try to like get to know each other the best we can in these circumstances, and being such a good team really helps and motivates. So we come to practice and we really want to work hard, and we look at each other and we cheer and give applause and like really want to build each other higher and better and stronger like every day, which is like maybe the most important, like with having a team, which is so great here.
To have a coach, and we're talking about assistant coach Anita Rossing, who's performed at the Olympics multiple times. What's it like to have her as a coach with how much experience that she's had at the highest level?
They really, both of them, really love to like tell stories and everything, which can be very inspiring, I guess. So they're very talented and they're doing a great job with us and they try to bring what they did when they were younger um and transform it to what we do now. So like they try to use their experiences to help us, and maybe one day if some of us go to Olympics, it would be great to have them like telling about how it was and everything, because the higher you get up, the more stressed you can be, but also if you hear what other people have experienced, maybe it's not that stressful.
Let's go back to the zone championships up in Washington, where the last day of the competition, you needed a couple of scores to place in the top 10 to eventually qualify to make the NC2As. Was that process nerve-wracking? Was it stressful knowing what you needed to get to qualify for the NCAAs?
It was in Flagstaff, but yes, it was. It was actually very stressful because I placed top 4 in the prelims, and then in the final, I didn't do my first 2 dives that well. So I ended up like 9, 10, 11, like around there. So I knew I needed to do well to even place top 9 to go to NCs. And all the way you can see the scores, so you can see how you're placed and how the other people do and everything. Preferably, I don't like to look at that, but it was impossible to not because it was such a big screen. So yes, after the competition, I was exhausted.
Were you happy with your overall performance at the NCAAs?
I was very happy with some things and very disappointed by other things. So I think that next year, like I learned a lot, and it was such a cool experience to be there. But I've almost failed a dive that I usually can do so much better. So I just need to go back and see what I can improve on that dive and also like it's important to have the head the right place. So just continue to work and train hard, and also competition training so you get used to it.
What was it like to be there at the NCs to also have teammate Daphne Wils with you competing, even though she was in a couple of other events? For two UH divers to be at the NCAAs, what was that feeling like to be a part of?
It was very great to be two instead of only one. I think we both think that. I wish we had some more swimmers there. But still, like we are together all the time when we travel, and we laugh a lot, and we look at other people and talk to other people and try to just take in as much as possible all the time. And also Coach Mike, he know like everyone around the pool, so he introduced us to the different people, and we talk to them, and they tell other stories. And yeah, it's very cool. And also because it's the same time as the swimmers, so much is going on all the time. So, and I had the competition the last day, so it's like trying to stay focused on your stuff and not be exhausted before the competition, but also be in the moment and like, wow, because the meet is big.
Can you describe for us your routine from when you walk along the deck to go up the ladder and then standing at the edge of the diving board? What's kind of your routine every time you're about ready to perform your dive?
First I decide which diver that dives, and then I just go up so I have enough time up to 10 meters because it's a long way. So I like to jump into the water first to like feel it more the same as training, to like not be too dry. Then I walk up like visualizing my dive and trying to be calm, because I can easily get stressed, and then it's very difficult to perform the dive well. Like just telling myself that it will be fine and that I know I can do it, and just try to do the same way as in training. And then they say your name and you go out, and you just try to not think about other stuff like that you need to make a certain score or you need to do this and that to place well. You just stay in yourself and think about what you need to do.
We know that all UH teams log a lot of air miles every year whenever they travel for a game or for a competition. When you travel, what are a couple of the most important things you need in your carry-on bag when you have a 5, 6, 7 hour flight?
I just have a lot of water and warm clothes. Yeah, because we need to travel so far every time. And a good headset and nothing specific, but I like to sit next to my teammates so we can talk and play games and just make the time go.
Last one for you here, Elma. If mom and dad are watching this, what would you like to tell them? And in doing so, tell them first in English, and then also tell them the same thing in Norwegian.
That I'm very grateful that they're watching like every competition, and they also know so much about diving because my dad used to be my coach. So they know if I'm doing well or bad, but they support me either way and try to like make me happy, and they're so proud, and they stay up all night or in the morning or evening, or because the time difference is a lot. It's like 12 hours.
Elma, this has been so much fun. We appreciate the time you've given us today. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on a great freshman season.
Thank you so much for having me.
For Daphne and for Elma, as well as the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tiff Wils saying thank you for joining us here in the 26th edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, stay safe, and be socially distant.
You've been listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story, brought to you by Hardware Hawaii and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union.